Hello and welcome to the NevilleResearch.com video. Be sure to click like and subscribe to this channel, and we've been getting a lot of great comments on the videos, and I want to encourage everybody to comment on the videos, express your opinions, stay civil, and we've had some great discussions and I want to encourage that. So in the comments down below, let me know what you think about this video and what you think about the channel. So today we want to talk about Sonnet 121, and Sonnet 121 is sort of the Henry Neville sonnet. And, James and Rubinstein in their book in 2005, Truth Will Out, identified this sonnet, and every Neville researcher since has written about this sonnet. And you can check out those books and see what they have to say. But I want to focus on some new research relating to this and sort of my perspective on this. And the main thing about this sonnet that you have to understand is that it's a very personal sonnet. So whoever wrote this sonnet seems to really be expressing their own view. It's not really written to anybody, or it's not about love. It's sort of about their own experience in life, their own position in life. And, it's a very pessimistic and negative sonnet. And the first line is the key line here. So it says, "'Tis better to be vile than vile esteemed." And to me, that means something like, if people are gonna be saying you're bad, you're better off just being bad than having people say you're bad when you're not. So it's an interesting idea. When I say it's a personal sonnet, I mean, it's pretty explicit here. He says, "No, I am that I am." Right? I am that I am. And this, of course, is a reference to the Bible. And here's the 1599 Geneva Bible. And, who's saying this? It's God saying to Moses, "I am that I am." Right? He's saying who he is. I am that I am. So this sonnet is very much expressing something personal about the author. It is how I would read it. Now, this use of the word vile twice in the first line makes one think of Henry Neville. And why would vile make you think of Henry Neville? Well, let's look at some of the documentation we have. So this book called Microcosmos was written by John Davies of Hereford, and we have to distinguish him from Sir John Davies, the poet. So there's two people here, but this is John Davies of Hereford, and he's the one who wrote the epigram about William Shakespeare being our English Terence. So we'll have other videos about that issue. But in 1603, he wrote this book called Microcosmos, and he included sonnets, in fact, to some famous people, including the Earl of Southampton, and he wrote one to Henry Neville. And this is our Henry Neville. This is a reference to Henry Neville of Billingbear, the one who wrote the works of Shakespeare. And it says, "To the noble, discreet, and well-beloved knight, Sir Henry Neville." Now, this was written right after Neville's release from prison, and it calls him discreet here. It's not quite clear why he's calling him discreet. Anyway, it's a very complimentary sonnet. And at the end here, it says, "Because thy noble name, Nevilles, denies the vile." Okay, so this is in 1603, and very obviously, John Davies is punning on Neville's name, and he's also punning on Neville's family motto, which is Nevilles Velis, is the Neville family motto. Not just Henry Neville, but the whole branch of his family used this motto, and the motto is also a pun on Neville's name. And then we have here this very explicit punning the word vile in reference to Henry Neville. So when I go back here and look at this sonnet, and I'm saying that vile repeated twice in the first line of the sonnet is a reference to Henry Neville, I'm not just making something up. I have a book from 1603 here that does exactly that. Okay, so this is a natural pun to make on Henry Neville's name. Okay, so it's not making something up. It's not a secret code. It's very explicit in other people's writing. Now here is the cover page of the Northumberland manuscript, and you can click on the link to see more information about this and check out my blog for much, much more. But on the Northumberland manuscript is the word Nevilles is written twice, and the family motto Nevilles is also written twice. So this is another example of Nevilles written, and it's written right under the name Nevilles. In 1606, John Owen came out with a book of epigrams and of Latin epigrams, and this book was super popular. He came out with several editions of it, expanded it, and apparently it was published all over Europe. It was a huge, huge success. And this is the 1606 edition we're looking at here. I believe this is one of the first, this is the second edition. So here we have the epigram, and this epigram is to Henry Neville, but it's not to the Henry Neville we're talking about. It's to his cousin, who was the son-in-law of Thomas Sackville. He was married to Mary Sackville. And this epigram has Nevilles in it. So that's interesting. And here's a translation of it you can look at. So, and has a sort of a pun on the word vile in it. That the Nevilles relating to Henry Neville and punning on the vile was just a natural thing, and it was going on. So we have an example from 1603 that's about our Henry Neville we're talking about. Here's an example from 1606. And this is something that I discovered that's really super interesting. So we have John Vickers, and John Vickers has done a translation of the John Owen epigrams into English, and this is 1619, I believe. And so we're going to take a look at this. Now, so he has Sir Henry Neville, his adage, wish no vain thing, no vain nor vile thing wish to have. This counsel is both wise and grave, for base things are of base esteem, and wise men vain things not worth deem. Well, this is funny because the exact same rhyme is used here in Sonnet 121. So esteem is rhymed with deem in the first 3 lines of Sonnet 121. And then this sonnet, this translation of this epigram, has the exact same rhyme in it. So this is interesting. Now, what's going on here? You tell me. It's very interesting here. So when I'm saying that this vile Henry Neville is connected perhaps with this vile, there's evidence here. There's historical documents, there's other books and other documents that support this suggestion. So we have another example here from 1611. The so-called Convivium Philosophicum, or philosophical feast, was a dinner held in London, and Thomas Coriat was there, John Hoskins was there, and I'm going to talk a lot more about these figures in future videos. John Hoskins was a very close political ally of Henry Neville in Parliament, as was Christopher Brooke. And John Donne was there, the famous poet who was super close friends with Christopher Brooke, and Henry Neville was there. Now, there's some debate about which Henry Neville was there, the one we've been talking about, or his cousin, and I'll probably do a video about that later. But so they made a poem to commemorate this evening, and it was in Latin, and there's several extant copies of this poem, and it has little jokes about each of the people who attended, and for Henry Neville, it puns on his, family motto. Again, so what's my point here? What am I trying to say here? What am I trying to share with you all? My point here is that when we look at Sonnet 121 and we see the vile and the vile and I am that I am and the rest of it. I mean, there's a lot of interesting lines in here about my sportive blood and other things suggesting that this relates to Henry Neville is backed up by documentary evidence. Okay? So I hope that you'll read this sonnet for yourself, think about what it means, read the commentary that's been written on it over the last several hundred years, and as we move forward in our research, I want you to keep this in mind. Okay? Thank you so much for listening, coming by the channel again. Please, once again, click subscribe to the channel. It really helps, and you'll keep up to date as we come out with more videos going forward. Thank you.